My goodness. Got your mic on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All righty.
Yay.
Woo! Here comes
Oh,
Pete.
we're early.
There's Pete. I don't know whose iPhone this is. Maybe it's Megan.
I see Pete.
Hey, I'm here.
Yay! Did Neil have the iPhone last time?
I honestly
I don't
do not remember.
Okay. Kathleen only has audio today. Kathleen, can you hear me? Oh, they're connecting now. Okay, cool.
I can hear you now, Karen. Sorry, it's Kathleen.
Okay. Pete,
Yes.
Kathleen has to leave at 6. And I let Kevin know.
6, okay.
There's Gwen.
Only can see like 3 across the top. Oh, look. Hi, Gwen.
Hello, Gwen.
Hello.
Hey, Gwen.
How's everybody doing?
Can't think of it.
Good.
Just peachy.
Good. That works.
I just got a text from Nancy. She won't be at the meeting. He's printing something. Here's Kevin. Let's see if Megan got her screen on. She's connecting. Megan, can you unmute? Click the microphone.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You
Now-
can't.
No, click your camera now.
Stop. It says stop video.
No, I don't think so. Is there a camera right next to your microphone?
No.
That's fine. Kathleen is audio only too.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't figure this out last time either.
I know. Remind me. We'll play with it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
On my MacBook. I know I've been able to see myself before on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want to bring your MacBook in tomorrow?
Yeah. You
Okay.
can show me.
So we need Debbie, Neil, Jake. And that's it. Here's Debbie.
Right back.
I want some. What are you eating good?
That was a piece of chicken, and I'm going to be eating my salad next, my cucumber and tomatoes, because after this, I'm working again, even though I have my staff t-shirt on.
Ooh,
After this, I'm running out to work again.
multitask.
Crazy time.
I just-
Jake asked me to convey that he was in a meeting from school and was not, he said, it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. I'll try and get there as fast as I can, but I just don't know. So,
How about Neil? Is Neil available today?
I haven't heard anything from Neil.
Okay.
I was thinking that we're saving a lot in our budget by not having to print these out for everybody, right, Karen?
Yeah.
I think I'm paying the penalty for having a meeting during dinner time because I just got a text from DoorDash.
Oh.
So,
Oh, were they bringing good to you?
well, I think Little City Grill
Hmm.
and so when the dogs go crazy, you'll know the food came.
You'll have to excuse yourself for a moment to go answer the door.
Well, I don't know. This meeting is very important.
Hang on, one more person's here. Hopefully it's Neil and we can get rolling.
Okay, that's good.
I swear I heard him.
Now we said Kathleen has to leave at 6.
Yes, and Nancy won't be.
Yes.
Nancy won't be here. Okay.
And Megan
If
and
you have three, you have,
What
if
was
you have the
that?
3 people. So if we have 3 people on here, we have a quorum.
Yeah, we have a quorum of 3,
Yeah,
but you said that Neil is getting set up here?
Who's
no,
on,
no,
who's
there was
on the iPhone? I don't have any other identification than
Okay.
iPhone.
Kathleen.
That's me. That's me, Kathleen.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have 3, so we can go ahead and start then. That's okay with everybody?
Mhm.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order, and we'll have Secretary note the roll. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes for the previous meeting?
Yes.
Okay, any additions or corrections? Could we have a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting?
So moved?
Okay, Deb moves. We have a second.
Kathleen, I'll second.
Okay, Kathleen seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. I don't think we have any personal appearances. Unless we're on YouTube, I don't know. Yeah, you gotta be careful what you say at these meetings these days,
So true.
because it shows on YouTube, so that's a warning to myself. Correspondence, incoming. Let's see. Second quarter parks report. And Kramer Field, number 3,
Mhm.
fence claim report. Okay, we can hit those in the appropriate
Received.
sections of the agenda. How about outgoing? We accepted a donation for the donations for the gazebo weather vane.
yes, sir.
That was
Yeah, that's
nice.
pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We
It
had,
actually- Came in today, so I think we'll get it up tomorrow.
oh, we
Nice.
got another one? Another one come in or another
Well,
contribution?
this is the one. We
Oh.
had to order it. It got shipped to us today, and I think we can get it. Central Maintenance is gonna put it up for us tomorrow.
Okay, so it has a black squirrel or a silver squirrel in it?
It's kind of, I'm gonna say pewter bronze.
Well, we're
Nice.
close then.
The price for a black squirrel, but the people who donated like this one better.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, looks good to me. Well, thanking everyone for that.
Mhm.
No comments then. Any, how about staff reports, monthly revenue? Any questions on that other than the fact that why isn't it larger? We all know that. How about expenditures? I think most of them are self-explanatory, but any questions on any expenditures? No questions? Okay. Sam, you want to do the parks report?
Nothing exciting except for after all these years, the skate park finally got tagged pretty hard with graffiti.
Ah,
Hey, good thing though, Kevin found a product, you'll love the name of it, called Elephant Snot,
gee.
and it actually works.
Hmm.
So the guy's got it cleaned up and it looks great. You'd never even notice it was there.
Was it spray can paint?
Yeah, spray paint, same stuff I see through downtown on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know what person, but whatever that product is, it's technically biodegradable, but it works.
Nice.
Oh, great. Well, that's great. Yeah, I go by there quite often, but I didn't see anything, so.
Yeah, that's a lot of years to go without getting tagged.
Mm-hmm.
How many, Sam?
What's that, 8 years, right?
8? Okay, I just jot it down.
Okay. And what was the part about the claim on field 3?
Yeah, we had a guy drive through the side fencing on field 3. Some kind of medical emergency they thought for him, but he actually opened the gate, drove onto the field, and drove through the fence to get off the field. So we filed a claim. His insurance is not paying, but also according to our insurance, he's on his deathbed. They don't feel real comfortable pursuing it too much, but they did send a letter to try to collect the additional that's on the, because we have a $1,000 deductible.
Wow.
So we're trying to get the other.
Was accidental?
Well, how was it accidental? He opened the gate up to drive onto the
Yeah.
field.
I
Yeah,
can't answer
he
that
drove
question.
on, then drove out through. It was really bizarre, actually.
Sounds like it.
He's an elderly gentleman.
Mhm.
Maybe he had a diabetic,
Oh,
something like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
They weren't, and we don't get that information, but
Yeah.
I do know he's still really sick. So collecting our other 1,000 is being pursued, but I wouldn't hold any hopes up for that.
Right.
Well, hopefully he would have insurance, I would imagine would cover that if it was accidental.
Well, that's what I asked the Hope's assistant about, this is his insurance. So they're looking into it. Hopefully we'll still get our other 1,000, but we have repaired the fence already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I would assume we subrogated it to our own insurance company.
We did.
You only have to pay the deductible, so it would be up to the other insurance company to go after that.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Recreation report, since Nancy isn't here, do you want to do that, Megan?
Sure.
Okay.
Let-
Confidence.
I'm glad you didn't say no.
I'm gonna try my best.
Okay,
And you can hear me okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know tackle football and cheer has been canceled. We are still taking flag football. I know we were doing soccer drafts last night, Karen, is that right?
Yes, and we have 125 in flag football.
And what do we usually, do you know?
It's up from last year because we canceled tackle, so a lot of them switched over.
Okay.
And is the youth soccer, is that closed out for registration or is that still open?
We extended the deadline
Okay.
because we were waiting on DeWine's Tuesday speed.
Right.
I know we were talking about adult softball today, Karen, where are we at with that?
All the leagues are full. We have a couple people on the waiting list. We're trying to get a Thursday night going. Thursday's a new.
And then it looks like the AC unit was installed at the fitness center, so they're
Mhm.
probably happy about that.
You bet.
And then is cross country still canceled, Karen? Is it Karen?
I think they're going to look at that again. It's not a definite.
That's what I thought.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, my focus has been on trying to figure out what we're doing for the school year.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So every day is different. We started talking this week about, we initially said no all day care. There's no way we can do it. We're a before and after school program. We have
Right.
part-time staff. They can only work so many hours per year, and they've already worked all day since
Mhm.
March. But we've hired a couple new staff, so we were hoping that we'd be able to do it. So Nancy put together a couple different budgets with providing all day care during blended learning week. So the kids go to school 2 days and then online
Mhm.
learning 3 days. So we were trying to provide all day care at the rec every day for those kids that weren't in school. And then during purple weeks, when the county was designated as purple, we were trying to be open during those weeks too. But right now I just don't have the staff for it.
Mhm.
And there's not a lot of people looking for jobs with children right now.
Yeah.
Kind of a difficult time. So not a lot of people are hiring, or not a lot of people are applying. So what we've decided as of today is our numbers are down for before and after. We usually have about 150 kids, and we're down to about 60. So Longpoi's numbers were not very good at all. So we may have to not have a program there right now to start. We're trying to get our Longpoy kids bus to the rec center along with the Walls kids and just run before and after at the rec with Longpoy, Walls, Holden, and then Davy is able to be open still with a lower number, but bigger than Longpoy would have been. We're waiting on Jim Sawyers to get us information on transportation because there was a question on that, whether or not they'd even be able to transport our kids this year. So that's still in question about the Longpoy kids being transported in Walls. We've been waiting for them to confirm the kids' cohort schedules. And I know they just did that this week. So I gave Jim our list of kids. So I know what days they're going to be able to put together an attendance sheet and find out exactly how many kids we have everywhere. The state decided that our ratio can go up to 18 again per staff member, 18 kids per staff member. We were down to 9 during this whole pandemic. But if we stay at 9, we continue to get the pandemic support payment grants, as you can see in the report. We're kind of up in the air on that, on whether or not we're doing that at all. Depends on the numbers. So it basically, the amount in June covered all of our cleaning supplies plus staff, some staff costs. But as of July, they're only giving us, they call it ratio support.
Mhm.
So basically only staff costs, a lot smaller, but we did get a decent amount of cleaning supplies in that month of June. I know Sam helped me find some stuff. The health department got us some stuff, and I've been picking up stuff. So we're pretty set on that. It's just, we still need that help with paying for staff because we're not, definitely not making as much money as we used to. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're at on that.
If school should happen to be canceled after a couple of weeks, I assume we close down the before and after school.
Yeah, we
programs
would
too?
definitely, I mean, yeah, we would close down before and after. I would still like to look into being open during purple weeks. But starting with just before and after is going to give me a little bit more time to find staff that could work all day to be able to cover the purple week. So, because I really, that's not my goal. I don't want to close down completely and not offer all day care because, I mean, yeah, we need the money, but where are these kids going? It's one of my concerns. So, yeah, so that'll give me more time to prepare for the purple weeks and find the staff. So, yeah, it's kind of a mess right now, but we're every day we're piecing it together, and I think we're almost there. So, and then Our last day of camp was the 7th. So we have been closed for 2 weeks. Next week will be our 3rd week. And I'm pretty set on staff as of now because our number stayed low. I really don't need the rec leader positions anymore right now. But like I said, I'll probably start advertising for like that mid shift during the day to see if we can get people for those all day weeks. And then I'm sure you guys heard Miss Bonnie passed away. Bonnie Levon Dunaway, she was in our before and after school program for 10 years. She worked our fitness center, our summer camps. She worked maintenance at the rec. It was a very sad time for a lot of us. The parents were really close with her. We had a couple of the older kids that had her for years in the program that were having a hard time. We had like a counselor come in and talk to the kids, and a couple of them actually attended her memorial service. So, yeah.
Mm.
So that was that news. Yeah, I think that's it.
Any questions for Megan or? Okay. Before we get into the director's report, since Kathleen has to go, I was talking to Debbie and there was some other input there too. We would like to have a executive session to talk about personnel matters and several different personnel matters. And we would like that executive session to be limited to the director and the 5 board members, and have it be, because of the subject matter, have it be very private. I don't want to do this on Zoom. I think we can we do a 6-person meeting face-to-face, Kevin?
Yes, we
Still
can do
not get
that.
arrested?
Yeah, we could do
Okay,
that.
well, I'll let Kevin, well, first of all, in order to have an executive session, we need a motion to do that. And the motion will be to have an executive session to be arranged at a later date. We're not going to do that tonight, obviously. So could I have a motion to do that, have the executive session?
Sure, I'll make that motion, make a motion that we have an exec session to discuss some personnel matters at a date and time to be determined.
Could I have a second?
Kathleen will second.
You have a second for that motion?
Kathleen.
I'll second it. It's Kathleen.
Okay, Kathleen. Kathleen seconds the motion. Any discussion on that, whether it's necessary or not? Okay, since there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion appears to carry. Yeah, there's just some issues that Debbie and I had discussed. I guess Jake had some input into that too. And so I wanted to take care of that before Kathleen had to bail out. Next item will be the director's report.
Yeah, I have 4
Okay,
items.
Kevin.
They're all information only, so there won't really need to be a vote. So if Kathleen has to leave without
Okay.
worrying about voting on something. The first item I got is the Middlebury Road River Access Ramp. This goes clear back to 2009. I found information in some of John's director's report where he was working with the Coons to try to get a little sliver of land that's really just sits in front of the ramp. We own the parking lot to the right. The Coons own the parking lot to the left. They actually own the property that gets you on the concrete, that gets you in the river. So in 2009, John discussed that with the board. Once again in 2010. And then in 2014, the minutes actually state, I am pleased to report that the Coons family has donated the needed strip to the Middlebury Road launch in exchange for utility bills owed to the city. Well, we got a letter from Attorney Scott Flynn, I think maybe it was even last year before I even came here, but he's stating that the Coons never signed that agreement. So the belief is that they still own that sliver of land. I'm meeting with Hope Jones on Monday. She's been involved in some of the conversations. So I'm going to meet with her Monday and also with Jim Bowling from engineering, just to see kind of where this stands. We don't necessarily use the ramp for our river kayaking, but the company out of Cuyahoga Falls, they do use that. They use it every day. They let people off there. And the Coons concern is a couple. They own the property. Parking, people park on their property. They leave behind trash. And Sam does a lot of the cleanup down there usually. And I guess their thought is now, even if they sell that to the city, it won't get rid of those problems. People will still be parking there, still park on their property, even across the street on their property. So it's really just an informational thing. I think everybody thought this was said and done. I have the agreement, can't find where they ever signed it. I looked through John's files. I texted John and asked him, and he thought they had signed it, but he wasn't 100% sure. So, so work through the law director and see if we can't work something out with them. If not, I have asked Jim Bowling to look over where we have the bike path currently across the bridge, where that Tompkins property is, and maybe there's some way to get access to the river over there if we can't negotiate a deal with the.
Yeah, and let me give you a little background on this. At one time, that was township property, and that's why it was never subdivided. If you look at the drawings in your package, which are not particularly accurate, I bet Debbie looked at, I looked at the Google Earth actually, and it has the plats marked. Debbie will speak to that in a few minutes, but it's inconsistent with what's in our package. But that property was never subdivided because it was part of the township, and it was annexed to the city roughly 1970, 71. And I think the piece of property that Butch, that's Merle Jr., lives on was subdivided. That's probably the last house on Middlebury. The deal that Mr. Idoni cooked up was that we did the title searches and we hired someone to do some drawings and stuff. And those, and that would be used as a mean when the property was transferred. We would also have the property lines redrawn to reflect the subdivision, which we paid for. Mr. Idoni had difficulty dealing with the Coons family. I believe the gentleman he dealt with mostly is Merrill Sr., who's deceased now. I think he's deceased, but if not, so I'm sorry. But he wanted the property subdivided and transferred, and the new property lines recorded before he signed, and we weren't going to do that because part of the deal was the city would pay for subdividing the property. And at the time that the deal was signed, not only would he be forgiven his storage easement, we would have the property subdivided when it was recorded. We were under the belief that it was subdivided and recorded, but apparently it wasn't. I remember when I was growing up, we used to go down to that boat ramp, and there was an organization that wasn't incorporated called the Kent Boat Club, and a fellow by the name of Graham was pretty much the leader of it. And I think it was his father that actually worked with the little group and put the concrete in there. That's how the concrete got there. And he used to put motorboats in there. My uncle used to put his motorboat in there, and we'd go up and down the river. We could do it at that time because there was a very large dam pool created by the Monroe Falls Dam, and that's all gone. In fact, there was a canoe levee, and people had small motorboats down close to the dam. There used to be a water ski jump in the river, and people used to jump over that. The building is still down there. It is actually someone's residence. And I think in the 1980s, they closed the canoe levee and sold off all the canoes for about $20 a piece. But anyhow, one thing that we were concerned with, and this is why we had never applied for grant money to improve that area, other than the fact that we didn't own that little spite strip that is between the roadway and the river access, is because it's pretty unsafe to bring boat trailers and all down there. We didn't think it would meet the criteria for any grant money for a boat ramp. And there was also the dispute over who owned the property. There were several times when the river was down and someone would go out and they would put stakes in the middle of the river and claim it was their property. And Debbie can explain how sometimes when the way these properties are divided, sometimes the property lines go out over the river. And you'll see this up at Riverbend. You'll also see this in some of the downtown properties. It doesn't show the river as being not owned. It shows the river as being part of somebody's property, but it really isn't. You know, you get into those terms of meandered and unmeandered, and no one understands them except attorneys who deal with this. But we thought this was done, and I remember Mr. Maidoni sort of congratulating us and patting us on the back because now we didn't have to bother with this situation. And I think Eric Fink was the one that had it. I understand he's a very detailed person, and I can't imagine if this hit his desk that he didn't get the signatures. So there may be, I don't know, there could be some signed documents somewhere. I was particularly unimpressed with the fact that the communication from McCoon's attorney did not prescribe any remedy for the situation. Normally when you hire an attorney and you have a beef, you have a remedy, you have something you want done. I think the only thing they want us to do is just to not use it. They didn't mention anything about the fact that we, as compensation for the property, the city in effect paid them $7,000 by not collecting that money for the storage that they owed to the city.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those properties adjacent to the Akron water line for many years got free water, and they didn't pay city storage until the city came along, probably, I don't know, maybe in the 1980s somewhere, possibly 1990s, and put water meters on those properties. And this property might have been one of them, I'm not really sure. And so then, therefore, they pay storage. And so that storage fee that was abated by city council might have been part of that. So if they want us to stay off the property and the sale didn't go through, then I think they owe the city some $7,000 plus interest, I would assume. And I think, yeah.
How do you spell storage? I've never heard the word.
Storage.
S-E-W-E-R-A-G-E, right? Sewerage.
Yeah, like sewerage.
S-E-W-E-R-A-G-E.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm from Steubenville. I talk funny.
Yeah.
but anyhow, I would think that we should work with the city law director, and like I said, I think Eric Fink, assistant city law director, was the one involved in this. And I talked to some people today who said, if he was the attorney working on this, those documents were probably signed, because apparently he's very detailed, very a stickler for detail. So I don't know. I guess I was disappointed in the fact that this occurred back in October and we're just finding out about it now. But I think, and I'd also think when Kevin goes down to talk to Hope, that if we can't resolve this in a amicable way, that definitely the city should be reimbursed their $7,000 plus any additional fees that they gave up in exchange for the property, because they never got the property. And I don't know how city council will feel about this, because they probably don't know about it yet. But so it's an interesting thing. So I don't know Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens when we have the meeting down there with city engineer and all. So I'd like to hear anybody else's input on this, particularly Debbie's.
Mhm. I was gonna try and do something here, because your drawing isn't horrible. I'm gonna see if I can share a screen.
I think the drawing we got in the package sort of resembles what is on Google Earth,
Yeah.
which is in the county recorder's.
Well, that might be, but this is off of the auditor's website, and I just enlarged it a little bit so that you can see. The yellow lines are the Kunzes, and they go all the way up into that point and come back down, and it includes this. Okay. As far as I can tell, this appears to be not part of their property. I don't know if that's enough to argue about or not, but I'm just saying, that's what the auditor shows, which is just a little bit different than what we're seeing, but not terribly.
Yeah,
but-
we had been, at least Mr. Idoni always described it as a spite strip that was 4 foot long. And I don't know if it was intended to be a spite strip, but it goes back to when the property was annexed to the city. Apparently, that was never really owned by the city. It goes back to when that was part of the township.
Mhm.
I was talking to Howard Boyle today, and because it was his father that had the boat that we used to go in down there, and he said, "Well, why don't you just look at some of that vacant land down there and grab the whole thing and build your boat ramp on it and use eminent domain?" We had talked about that years ago, and at the time the climate was not right for eminent domain, because Kent State was trying to use that to acquire property for the architectural building, and it was leaving a bad taste in everybody's mouth to acquire property from private owners. But it's kind of above my pay grade, I guess. But if you notice, that piece of land that Debbie had pointed to was very small.
Mhm. Well, that's my point. I don't know, because it's not clear from this who has this piece. But I mean, if they're saying that people are parking across the street on their land, that's legit, and they can put private property no trespassing signs up. Also, if we're not using the property, I don't know what their beef is with us. They need to contact the Burning River people or whatever in a cease and desist. But I guess the bigger question that I have is, how is it that John got it wrong? He came to that meeting. I remember when he said, "Yay, this has been resolved. We have an agreement. They've signed off on it. The city is forgiving these, this money that they owe in exchange for this extra piece." So I guess I don't understand what happened from that point. That's the first question. The second question I asked Pete was, how come Scott Flynn didn't bother trying to contact the Parks and Rec to hear what our side of the story was before he issued this rather hostile letter? And was it signed and just never filed? That would be the third question.
Well, what happens, and I'll ask Debbie this question, if the agreements were signed and then they're sitting in somebody's file, that would go back to probably 2014, I believe.
That's
And
what it
they
looked
would they still be able to be executed?
Yeah, that's a question for an attorney. I don't know. If they were signed notarized and just never got filed, I don't know that there's a statute of limitations, but again, I'm not an attorney. I would think the city attorney should be able to. Is Gwen still on? I can't see because my screen got a little different with me sharing.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any access to this story via our current law people?
This is the first I've heard about it, so I haven't reached out to Hope or anybody like that. So I could certainly reach out to them. It sounds like Kevin's already got a meeting planned with Hope, though. I'm happy to attend or help out in any way I can.
Well, I saw
Yeah,
Mayor
weird.
Fila today, and he, after a short discussion with him, I kind of determined he probably wasn't in a good mood for me to tell
who was
him that
that,
the city
Pete?
paid.
Who was
Mayor
that?
Fiala.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I didn't think he was in a good enough mood for me to tell him that the city just got scammed for $7,000 for a debt that relieved. And so I would imagine that that'll somehow come up at council. But at some point, I mean, I think the city as a political entity should feel somewhat cheated because they paid $7,000
Yeah,
and forgave an indebtedness, to alleviate a problem, and they didn't get anything for it.
right.
So maybe when this comes up for discussion, we can send Kevin down to council to kind of represent the city's interests there. I'm sure the city law department is doing a good job on it. They just, people being new down there, except for Eric, don't really have the background on this piece of property. And in fact, Howard, Mr. Boyle is going through some resources right now to get back into this whole thing about the Kent Boat Club. These guys used to do things down there at the river that was, as far as I knew, it was not incorporated. It never had title to anything. It was not an entity. It was just a group of guys that most of them had homemade boats. My uncle made his boat in his backyard on 909 South Water Street. And, it was a fun thing. And I think that in our discussions with the Kuntz family, that they give credit to Merrill Kuntz Sr. as being one of the persons who built the boat ramp. And I don't know how factual that is, but not that it really matters in this case.
Well,
I don't really know who it was that went out there and started putting stakes in the middle of the river saying we own the river too. So
does anybody know why this correspondence occurred in the fall, and then it just came to our attention, it looks like July. Yeah, what's that all about?
Well, I don't know. I would imagine that if these documents were signed, that Mr. Idoni would have had them in a file somewhere, or at least a photocopy of them.
Right.
And I would imagine Kevin has probably torn the office apart looking for things that aren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have looked for an agreement that was signed. When I meet on Monday with the law director and engineering, I don't have a time for that yet. Would
Right.
either Pete or Deb want to be there, since you probably have more historical knowledge than what I might have? I can let you know what time it is.
You don't know yet, any idea of what time?
It's going to be in the afternoon. I just don't have an exact hour.
Okay.
It was supposed to be scheduled for in the morning, but
And we'll
Yeah, same here. If I'm available at that point, I'll try to be there just to weigh in, because both of us,
Okay.
Pete and I both remember that meeting and remember John coming and saying it was done. Karen, you
Right.
remember? Yeah. Karen remembers as well. So this is
I might have
really,
even notarized it. I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah. Anyway. And meanwhile, somebody should, I can't figure out why Scott is indicating that the city has no right to try and get paid for that money. I mean, I don't know what his standing, unless he thinks it's because it's so late in the game. I don't know.
yeah.
Scott is representing his client, and he's representing his client based on facts apparently that were given to him by his client.
Well, I get
Yeah.
that, but wouldn't you think before he would say something like, and oh, by the way, you can't even reclaim this money, that he might actually look into the facts before he wrote that in a correspondence? That strikes me as really weird. Because if the money was owed and it was forgiven in exchange for property, which was then never signed off and filed, sorry, it seems to me that the money is owed. It's very strange, but anyway, I
Well,
guess we
maybe
get
we
to the
should
bottom of it.
Well, maybe on Monday we'll talk about sending the Coons family a bill for
There you go.
for the $7,000 plus interest that we essentially gave them.
Well, I'm sure that Hope and Eric can look into this and research it too before you
Mhm.
need to send
Yeah.
any letters.
Yeah,
out.
well, I mean, obviously, the city law director that, holds the keys of this whole thing, because whatever the city does, it's going to be based on the recommendation of the city law director. I mean, even though Park and Rec has some standing in this, we don't hold all the cards. I mean, what's to be done is to be done by, basically by council, upon the advice of city law director.
Well, I'm sure that the law director would represent the best interest in Parks and Rec. I don't see why
Mhm.
the law department wouldn't. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not saying they wouldn't, I'm saying, but to take any action, probably council would have to pass a resolution to authorize the law director to get back their $7,000. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
That I'm not sure about. I know we don't make resolutions every time the law director,
Yeah.
does certain aspects of her job. I can't speak to that completely, but certainly council would
well,
support.
the fact is, in my packet was a resolution passed by council that
well, that could
forgave
be, yeah.
the 7,000. So in order to reclaim the 7,000, I would think council would have to revisit that.
And the actual agreement was for Dave Roller's signature, not for John. So
Okay, well,
the city is highly involved because they were going to sign off on it.
got it. Well, I'm sure that council would be very supportive of taking care of this matter and making sure
Yeah,
that
I figured.
Parks and Rec
Well,
had what they
And
were.
again, I don't know, is it worth notifying Scott that, hey, we're actually not the ones that are using it right now. So your beef is with somebody else. While we try to work this out, you might want to send this letter to them to cease and desist because it's not us. So,
And I'd be happy to do that. I know that they used to have up some no parking signs, but I think according to Sam, they've taken those down in the last year or so.
mhm.
Not in front of the ramp, but in front of other parts of their property.
Yeah.
No trespassing types.
Hmm.
I think this all kind of came to the attention of Butch Merrill Jr. when the fire department decided they were going to do a training there. And when they do these trainings, they usually involve several fire departments, and they need room for their vehicles, and they have trailers with boats on them and everything. And I think that's sort of that might have been the event that led Butch to believe that something went wrong, because apparently Butch believed that that's Merrill Jr. He's the guy who lives on Middlebury that has the big white dump truck. Apparently, he believed that that property was never conveyed to the city, and didn't like people parking on both sides of the road. And that's happened. I know when we ran the Black Squirrel Triathlon, when they pulled the kayaks and the canoes out of the river, they went across the road onto that property. And some of that property is private property too.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't imagine anybody thought it was private property when we did it, Okay, so Kevin, you're going to let Debbie and I know when you're meeting with Hope, or?
I will. Yep,
Okay.
I'll let you know, hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. Sounds good.
I know it's
Jim,
Monday.
Jim Bowling. Yeah, Jim Bowling probably has some background on this too, and
Right. It's gonna be
so
there.
it'd be interesting to figure out where we stand legally on it.
Oh.
Deb, do you have
My
anything
next-
else to say on this?
Nope.
Or
That's good.
okay, well, we can go
The
on.
next item, really just an update on the Gogler Avenue property. It was sold at auction. I told the board about that in an email a while back. The new owner plans on tearing down the duplex and then using the block building for some sort of business, and they're going to renovate the outside. But that's the only information I have. Sold for 132,000, both properties.
Man.
Next item is the downtown gazebo. Just letting you know it's completed. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get up the weather vane, and then it'll be 100% done. Sam and his guy did some landscaping work down there last week. Everything else is finished. They did trim some of the trees back through central maintenance, primarily so when we do get the weather vane up, you'll be able to see it. Because a lot of the trees are hanging over the gazebo.
Right.
Are we gonna have a ribbon cutting and
Well,
maybe get a sponsor and have wine and cheese and?
I thought about that, and I probably should, but I don't know with this whole pandemic thing. I mean, we could do it. Everybody has to wear masks, which everybody's used to doing now anyways. It will be nice to get the Christians in there.
I understand someone was selling masks with a zipper on them so you could put a straw through it. So.
There you go. I was gonna say, right in line with the Dora event happening tomorrow evening.
Yeah. And then the final item is just the Fairchild Avenue property we brought up at the last board meeting. Council did approve that last night, so I'll work with the law director on getting the correct forms filled out and the correct deeds and all that, titles or whatever else we need to accept that property.
What about an easement on that land? I know the land next to it is an easement. Are we going to put an easement on it or?
I don't think we have to. I think the other one had that easement because it was almost well over 4 acres.
Yeah.
We can include it in the conservation. The Western Reserve people come there every year and walk the property with us and tell us, that we're doing a good job or what invasives need to be taken out. So we probably could include that as part of that if that would be.
Yeah, well, I guess you kind of have to look at it with, the potential for what can you do with an easement and what can't you do with an easement. And,
Yeah.
Some of those easements, you can't put a parking lot in there or a trail or.
Right.
About all you can do is clean it up.
Let me talk to the conservation people that come down and do our visit every year and ask them what their opinion would be. Would that be something we'd want to do, or would it not be worth it? Because it's such a small piece of property, you really couldn't even park cars on it. It's so small. If you wanted to put a parking lot.
Hey, anything else for Kevin or anything for the good of the order? Okay, well, saying none, I guess we can adjourn then. Is that?
We
I
don't
guess
have
we're
anything
done.
else to second the motion other than you, Pete.
Okay. Well, we can adjourn without a second, so.
There you go.
I guess. What's that?
I said, there you go.
Okay, so I guess we're adjourned.
Adjourn.
Okay, good seeing everybody.
Good to see
Thank
all.
you.
Take care.
Bye now. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Karen.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, how do I get out of here? Hello. Oh, cancel.